this one, ladies and gentlemen, very, very shortly. From the start of the game, we do not get to see Big Bam, but I'll get Lyric to walk us through how things are looking onto the Rift and momentarily be throwing that in. Just waiting for our production team to throw that on the screen, and then we can start talking about Rare Atom and FPX. Two teams who should be vying for playoffs. I mean, especially FPX. You know, Nuguri coming into this team, there's a lot of excitement, and sir, I mean, I don't know if Beichuan's been playing the new Runeterra set, but I see a Kindred, I see a Karthus, I even see a Vayne to kick off Rare Atom and FPX into game one.
Yeah, this one is definitely a spicy one and a bit different than I'd expect, right? We have Leyan actually getting onto the Karthus, which is a pick that Beichuan pulled out in his last match. We have the Kindred coming out in response to that, some really aggressive jungle play to counteract that. And then Doinb on a Seraphine.
Yeah, Doinb on the mid lane support. The Gyos come out as well, remember, in Shanghai. But, of course, Umi will be leading the charge. Doinb's wife, as usual, for FPX. Always good to see. She goes to every single FPX game as well. But, yeah, the Seraphine through the mid lane, right? Like, this is a composition that has a double 80 carry comp, and now we've got the support Seraphine in the mid lane.
It's going to be really interesting to see how this early game goes, especially for the side of FPX, who I feel like definitely have the more aggressive options. But I'm going to pause because RA wanted to get a bit of their own advantage in this early game with these level 1 shenanigans.
Yeah, Crisp, if he steps too far forward, he's going to be caught. He's going to brush check onto Hung, but it's 3 members with a knock up, knock back, ignite down, and Crisp already, the flash is burnt. Do RA want to follow suit? Taking this trail by foot for now, and Crisp having to burn that summoner gives over the red buff for RA's early game.
And I really like this adaptation coming out from RA when FPX draft a jungler that wants to go for these aggressive invades and look for the win. When we have a winning topside matchup, a very aggressive bot lane matchup with Tristana and Alistar, cutting the map early on and finding an advantage is what RA needs to do.
Be a good start to the game. Cutting the map for the Vayne as well. Let's remember that iBoy and Hung have opted in for the Vayne Gragas bottom lane. Nice body slam and tumble follow-up. Chris yet again at half health. Sustaining this lane, Lyric, but LWX and Chris already forced back and are losing the level 2 advantage.
And this is just kind of the fruit that RA has bared from that invade. I really like the way that's being stacked by RA to deny minions. And yeah, so far it's just been a really nice start from RA. They're not going to be able to do much in terms of a dive, but Hysterics, we're back on us.
Yeah, they're like, you know, screw the game. Let's just look at Lyric and Hysterics angrily heading towards you. I'm assuming there is a technical error here at the very least for the game. I'm going to find out what the issue is there, ladies and gentlemen. Apologize. When we're remote, a lot of working parts to come into the LPL English production, and it makes it very difficult. So we'll work out what's going on there for you. A bit of a rough start for our audience as well, you know, with the back and forthness, and we'll find out what's going on here as work out that with the producer. But what we've already seen is splitting the map, as you mentioned, so RA getting priority on the bottom side. I didn't actually see the top lane matchup, but we know that FPX are playing the Karthus, who just wants to farm anyway, so might be a bit non-interactive for the top lane.
Well, yeah, we have Renekton up against Gnar. I really like the Gnar, the Renekton Karthus combo as well, because it provides a lot of kill pressure if you can find that all-in as Renekton after level 6, provided with the Requiem coming in for the Karthus. But the thing is, FPX have the Gnar and they have the Kindred, so they'll have the push in the top side, and that will enable the Kindred to look for those invades and 1v1 the Karthus.
Have been told might be an audio issue from our audience, mentioning that there was actually no game sound there, so we're going to try and fix that one up there. But yeah, actually seeing the Karthus on Beichuan, someone we didn't get to talk about, and I think Beichuan is...
To correct you, Hysterics, Beichuan is on the Kindred, Leyan is on the Karthus. It's a bit of a role reversal from what we expected, especially from what we saw last week, right? And Beichuan being known as like the AP jungle guy, the king of Echo, but still two very spicy picks.
Two spicy picks because Kindred phased her way out towards the end of last year, right? You know, Kindred was hovered over in the early parts, but we got into the Olaf, the Udis, and junglers that could actually just, you know, farm up better than Kindred, faster than Kindred, and have more impact. So we didn't actually get to see the pick ban and the bans that were taken away, but both Leyan and Beichuan, they're in the middling tier of junglers. Beichuan, of course, very new, so for me, giving him that respect is quite a big deal. And, you know, jungle game wasn't what we're going to talk about here, but a lot of scaling elements put into both these comps and a lot of late game fighting that's going to be big from the junglers in particular.
Yeah, it's For me, despite the fact that there's definitely scaling on both sides, right? You highlighted double AD carry with the Seraphine on one end. You're going to have the split push threat coming in from the Gnar later on as well. I think Karthus and Vayne is just such an insane late game duo that RA should be feeling good if this game does get into the drenches of like the 35-40 minute mark. But at the same time, FPX don't need to worry about that because they do have the more aggressive jungle matchup. They do have more lanes that should be able to get priority. And FPX are the team that should be looking to get an advantage early on in this game.
We'll see when we finally get back in the game. Still waiting for an update, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize. Just kind of blind here as to what's going on, but we'll figure that out as soon as possible. And then hopefully get back into the game and run you through. Remember, we are doing FPX vs Rare Atom live. And I know it's a bit of a shocking way to start us off, Lyric, but you know, the night will warm up as we go on. Remember, after FPX Rare Atom, we do have RNG versus EDG, which is our match of the week. Two teams that we know historically have always been good in the head-to-head and, you know, versed each other in pretty big standings. So I kind of waiting for that one as well. But yeah, I think FPX RA has the chance to be a bit of a banger, especially since RA, this is their first test since, you know, what, 6 wins they picked up on a win streak.
It's really interesting when you look at RA because they did get a few legit wins, right? They 2-0'd WE and then 2-0'd LNG, and then suddenly had this streak of 2-1ing all the bottom teams like TT, E-Star, and OMG. And now it's like, okay, RA have proved themselves up against top competition, but with the way they've been winning their series and their games, it feels like we're still missing that bit of spice, that bit of like proof to be like, hey, you're actually a contender to win the split, not only this gatekeeper between the middle and upper half of the table.
Because RA have been, you know, from perspective point, like, oh, they're a playoff team, and I've been casting a lot of RA. You know, I've been casting a lot of RA, and I haven't been happy about it. I keep saying this team, man. I don't think this is a firm playoff team. I think this is, I think this is going to be a team that will just slither by if they're able to.
Hysterics. Every good relationship needs a bit of disagreement, and I'm gonna have to disagree with you here because I think sitting at 7-3, having 10 playoff spots. Again, the fact that they did beat teams like WE and LNG, who upper and middle tier teams respectively, I feel like it'd be very hard pressed for RA not to be a playoff team. At the same time, though, we can question their form going into the second half of the split and then into playoffs. Because again, this definitely needs to be a proving grounds of being more than that, to where we were going to come with the segment, right, saying that, hey, RA is the bar. RA is the bar that if you want to go from middle tier to upper tier team, you need to be better than us in terms of like individual skill, team fighting, check the T's, dot the I's, kind of they do everything standard decently well. But they're not really in that same conversation as WE, FPX, EDG, RNG, maybe top esports with their level of talent, right? There's still something more that this team needs to show.
You know, I'd still argue more, you know, like those IG teams sooning it with their rise up in form as well. Definitely those teams that should be stepping over. But I like that you talk about setting the bar. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, we apologize. We are in a delay. We're trying to find out what the issue is here currently as we await from production. But while we're at this point, you know, we were going to do a fully fledged segment on how, you know, RA and FPX could look for the win here, the focus players. We did look at Doinb versus FoFo in that segment. And going into today, I think I want to start with Doinb because Doinb is, you know, as you called it, he's like the Band-Aid recently, right? Doinb has been the player to focus on and has been keeping FPX together and what we expect to see in the next couple of games ahead.
The thing that I like about Doinb is that he's really smoothed out the transition from TN to Bo to Beichuan. Obviously, a lot of unfortunate circumstances why FPX have had to change jungler so frequently. But when you're coming into a team that has a very specific and niche style and system, I think it's very easy to slot in. You have your mid laner who's going to play the Renekton, the Nocturne, the Kled. Actually, really good win rates on those champions as well, 100% on the Renekton and the Kled. Actually, even the Nocturne only played it one game, won on it. And it gives your jungler a lot of room when you're playing all these champions that are super good in the mid-jungle 2v2, typically get lane prio, have a lot of global or semi-global access, especially, right, the Kled and the Nocturne. So it's smoothing the transition for these junglers to come in and for FPX to still perform well.
And it's what we go back to our roots for FPX and what we know. Like, Doinb was very good at just smoothing out the map in general. 2019 Worlds, he smoothed out the bottom lane, set them up for success. You talk about global pressures, and Doinb has always had those champions in his pool. I should actually add the caveat that Doinb has all champions in his pool, but a lot of the time these global pressures added in. Nocturne, Galio we saw a lot of in 2019 when they would go for that 4v2 dive bottom lane style with Tien in the mix. But I just think now as well, you're right, it smooth overs the jungle pool. The new jungler coming in Beichuan gives him an avenue to play through and kind of excite us for what other interesting picks we could see. Now, as we go into this game, you know, we have already seen that Doinb is willing to play the Seraphine in the mid lane, like another champion to add to the pool. And that kind of smooths over the whole comp, right? We saw that it was set up with a hyper carry Tristana. We did have the Kindred there as well. Like, Doinb facilitating the team to come together and driving them to success through his standard, equal, strong gameplay.
I think it will be interesting though, right? Because you're doing it in a different way. To where when you're on Renekton, you're on Kled, you're on Nocturne, you're like a pseudo engager. I wouldn't say you're the primary engager in your team. You know, typically FPX do have like the Rel or the Alistar, something there that can set up the fights. But you have the agency to create action when you need to. You're also a bruiser. You're very tanky. You can weave in and out of these fights. It's very different than a Seraphine who typically does want to play a bit more far back, right? You want to try and extend the range of your ultimate through your teammates, put off the heals and shields. And though this isn't anything new to Doinb, obviously he's played things like the Karma in the past pretty prominently, especially I remember Tien playing a ton of Olaf. That was one of his best champions. But still, this hasn't been how FPX have been winning this split. And it's also going to be very different when you don't really have any champion that you set up to run forward like an Olaf. You have a Kindred, you have a Tristana, you have a Gnar. You're more of a team composition that wants to be kiting back and abusing your range difference.
I was going to say, because the range advantage feels like you have to play this comp, and it makes it quite hard. You know, a lot of the easier to engage compositions we've seen these days are those easy to engage. I've just been told, though, to interrupt myself. We are going back to game, ladies and gentlemen. There was an audio issue. We have since tried to resolve that, I believe. We're just going to find out what the issue is there. But yeah, audio in the game seems to have caused a delay. Of course, we are into a delayed game itself, as we're 7 minutes in. Now, I'm not sure what happened, but it looks like we had Leyan come to the top side and help Cube to get first blood on Nuguri.
And this was one of the combos that we saw so frequently as, Crisp getting chunked really low.
It might be the final hour, the final countdown, silver bullets. There you go, iBoy on the board, LWX at half. Continues forward as Hung actually has Flash and Ignite. Beichuan moving into the lane. It's going to be used. The Requiem for a Dream onto LWX, but they killed Nuguri, man. And Rare Adam Strike globally with Leyan at the helm.
And it's so tragic. You could see FPX looked like they were setting up for a dive on bot side. They have deep vision in the enemy jungle. They were wrapping around. Chris gets E'd into the wall by iBoy. He does pretty much his whole health bar. And then Nuguri somehow caught on the opposite side of the map. RA executing so well at this composition, and it actually fits RA quite well. When historically we've talked about Leyan wanting to be self-sufficient, play for himself, as I'm going to pause so we can actually see what really happened here. FPX were setting up for the dive, but they had no wave, and Chris just gets caught in transition, ends up blowing a flash as well. Nuguri looking to defend his jungler's blue buff on the top side of the map was already low from a trade against Renekton, and he's just dead.
I love the point blank Requiem, like, well, you know what? I missed the last Q, you're dead anyway. And Lyric, when we went to that little technical pause, remember that you set up, it was going to be split map here. RA set up towards the top side and Beichuan towards the bottom, if I'm remembering that correctly. Feels like a couple of years ago. So it does look like Leyan was able to do more with his split of the map than Beichuan was.
The funny thing is, right, we actually saw RA split into bot side. They level 1 invaded.
Oh, really?
They took the red buff. I can't remember if they took the Raptors or not because we went straight into the pause. And then he must have cleared up. Then we got an opposite split map scenario, which does fit RA's comp much more. Because we already hit on the Karthus plus Renekton combo. This was all the rage back when Karthus was in the meta, putting this champion that can get that solo kill pressure and just needs that bit of extra spice to secure the kills. And going back to the point I was going to make was, I think this champion fits Leyan quite well, where he can focus on his own situation, farm up, look for an advantage in terms of CS, which if you look, he's 40 CS over Beichuan right now, but still influences lanes with his ultimate.
I mean, when Karthus as well gets an edge into the early game when you feel like he shouldn't, when he gets an opportunity, like he did in that top lane, it's just good tidings for a Karthus in the jungle who's 2 levels ahead of Beichuan. You mentioned the CS differential. The lost chapter there, scuttle priority given, Herald started. And with Cube adding pressure to the top side with a Hearthbound Axe after he got the help of First Blood, it feels really nice for RAs. It's an all-in engage. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, iBoy sent packing an LWX with the 2v2 kill. That's how FPX strive forward.
And this is what Tristana can do, right? This is why you get the hard engage support with her. You all in with that rocket jump. You completely blow up iBoy before he can even respond. He even used his heal, and he still goes down. So FPX still finding advantages on the opposite side of the map. But at the very least for RA, they do pick up that Rift Herald unscathed.
And now we have to look at what the balance is, right? Because when everything was going wrong for FPX, when iBoy came in, picked up the kill... We're just looking towards the top side. What happened here? Dominus? Okay, cool. That's sick. All right. Okay. Give me back some of my mini-map. This is like the way that they balance it out. You know, kill on Tristana, the ability for LWX to push forward. And I didn't get to talk to you a little bit about the comps, but now that we have this balancing act, I guess it's a good time to ask you what both these teams want to do.
So we already hit on how it felt like FPX need to be the team that wants to find these advantages early, despite the fact that they do have quite a bit of scaling. If we go late, this could be anyone's game, but at the same time, we've highlighted FPX have a lot of range that they can play with to abuse RA's comp. They outrange Orianna, Renekton, Gragas, Vayne. They can try to kite out these team fights and really abuse RA before they can find any way into the situation. For the side of RA, it's all about what they've been doing. They've been playing around their high kill pressure in the top side. They somehow got an advantage in the jungle, which, again, sadly, we didn't get to see. And I want to see them keep indexing into that top side kind of kill pressure. Get Cube more kills, drop the Herald for him, and just start stacking up these dragons. Then it's about finding those engages, bringing Cube in on a flank later in the game, maybe having Hung go in first, and trying to burst out FPX before all that sustain and range can win them out the extended team fight.
Because right now, they can force a team fight around their own conditions. RA are 2 dragons up. We're going into an Infernal Dragon as well. And RA really hold the cards for these objectives. On top of that, Leyan got the early Herald up towards the top side. So there's a lot of avenues for RA to continue playing this game. And I think right now, feeling pretty good. He's going to even drop the Herald top while Nuguri manages to slide away in the brush. But let's give some more gold to Cube, who's already so far ahead.
And I mean, the turret right now only has 3 plates as it is, so it's going to be extremely close to dropping down. When that goes down, they will have a bit of pressure on the top side. It's going to be very hard for Nuguri to walk forward in this lane. Leyan can look to gank anytime, and they're just going to get it. So I think this laning phase will be much tougher for Nuguri going forward. Now it's about how does FPX keep answering by funneling gold into LWX.
They'll get the turret trade at the very least. Beichuan looking for setup with iBoy and Hung. And Hung's actually used his engaged tools. Turret's going to go down. Burst is not there. Ignite dropped. And here comes the ulti from Beichuan. At the end, it was Leyan, excuse me. iBoy has his flash available in the final hour. Cube is even TP'd down, but he TP'd so far away that the play's just going to fizzle there while Leyan's looking for Doinb, but will be spotted out by minions.
Yeah, and I didn't see if he was waiting on his TP to come up or not, but pretty late TP coming out from Cube, if you plan on doing that anyway. It could have just been a response to realizing, hey, Karthus ultimate isn't going to have enough damage because they do blow the heal on FPX's side. But at the end of the day, that's still a win. FPX were dedicating so many resources bot. Had they just gotten out scot-free without Cube burning that TP, it definitely felt like a trade that favored the side of RA.
Yeah. Now, Cube without the TP has to walk back to lane, and Nuguri gets a bit of gold. Might actually get the second plate here or close to. Cube fends him off, but Nuguri comes in with a hyper proc that feels really nice here on the Gnar against the Renekton matchup. And just walks back away. Gives him time to catch up in the CS that was lacking when Cube got that first blood and Nuguri was pushed back in the lane. So top lane is now a little bit more even with that trade. But I should also mention that first start blood does go over to Cube. So he has the stride breaker on Renekton lyric. No gore drinker. Even though we're at 11.3 still, he's like, you know, I'm going to slice and dice a third time.
So this is something we've actually been seeing a bit of. We even saw it in our last series in one game. And it doesn't feel like teams are really making distinctions when they're doing it or not. I do feel like there are a few scenarios you can highlight where Stridebreaker is probably better. So a Gore Drinker, if you're going to go in, serve as the front line, again, get that Gore Drinker proc off, get a second rotation of your spells, I like it. But in compositions where your only job is to get right onto the back line, burst them out in one combo, you don't want extended fights, I do feel like Stridebreaker is better. It also is nice specifically in this matchup for the range versus melee, being able to close the gap, the movement speed that you do get off the passive as well. So for the fact that we set up as FPX want these extended fights where they're kiting back, and RA wants the heavy engage, the initial burst, I think it's a good buy for Cube.
And it might even get him out of some of these situations. There you go. The first slice used, though. No dice, though, as Lwx going to start hitting away. Charge at the ready. Dominus brought out by the 2v2 of Lwx. And now for Beichuan, he moves up to the top side. There's 3 up here for FPX, and Cube has to pay the respect.
And Leyan just going mid, putting a bit of harass onto Doinb. And he already has the Moonstone Renewer. I want to see how much work Doinb can do in terms of healing, because if they do survive that initial burst, it will be tough for RA to actually come out ahead in these team fights. We are going to need to see a lot of grievous wounds coming out from RA's side.
Yeah, it does feel like the healing is going to be too much to handle otherwise. Leyan still sitting in the mid lane. This is what you do as a Karthus. You go, bro, I'm going to tax some farm. But Nuguri actually found FoFo not against the wall. Shockwave burnt. Need one more boomerang. He goes into mini, and Nuguri will get away. But mainly, FoFo does as well without using his summoners.
Yeah, Nuguri respecting the fact that RA have control of mid lane. They saw that Leyan was hovering over. Let's not forget that Leyan also has Requiem up already as well. So even had he taken a bit more damage in that trade, RA still could have secured the kill without even getting in range to actually put themselves in harm's way.
I mean, Lyric, look at Leyan. He's just sitting mid. Literally mid lane Karthus with a smite. He's waiting for the dragon to come up. He absorbs more CS. He's actually almost up 60 CS over a Beichuan. In fact, he is. Excuse me. And level 12 versus level 9 on the smite. Advantage here for RA as they hit the third dragon. And actually, Cube going to find the stun here onto Beichuan as well. There's the Lamb's Respite into the wall. He's knocked Cube low as well. Satchel charge on top as he flashes, but can't get the heal. And FPX, you know what, Lyric? They don't need the space. The range advantage coming into play. iBoy running for his life. A 5-man Requiem, but this time it's definitely a dream as RA get absolutely smashed with only FoFo remaining.
And I really like the way they played that, but FoFo still feeling a little cheeky. The members of FPX are low if he wants to keep looking for these trades, and his Shockwave, most importantly, is up.
It is, but his flash was burnt before. Shockwave there, and Dragon going to be taken. FoFo going in, and I've just been baited with... I'm not sure what's going to happen there, folks. We apparently have another tech issue. Gonna find out what's going on there again. Holy moly, our chat would be triggered. Oh my god.
I just want to say hysterics. This is what adds the spunk to the LPL broadcast. Yeah. This is what gives us character. The tech issues, the fact that sometimes the fans here are Stagatrons.
Does he not get it?
Yeah, we don't know, and we don't need to know it. The appeal is, it's all in the mystery, Hysterics. It's all in the mystery. God.
All right, well, we'll definitely find out. I mean, how are you, chat? how's live? Our viewer count increasing exponentially because now they want to know what happened with FoFo and the Dragon. Yeah, we're gonna work that out. At the very least, we're at a point where FPX just want to fight, man, and their team fighting was exceptional considering that you talked about the all-in engage. We talked about how RA want to run at FPX's faces and they want to kite back. They want to use the range advantage. But it feels like Nuguri played a really important part and RA was scattered to the wind.
It's really strange because I actually felt like Beichuan was a bit late to trying to punish Cube in the bot side where Nuguri was doing a nice job of zoning off his Renekton. But it didn't matter in the end that they actually took enough time to where Cube realistically could have coordinated and engaged with his team. But he suddenly slices and dices into numerous members. Well, his team's still a bit far away. Again, I was really excited to see a replay because maybe Doinb could have hit a nice ultimate. But point is, Cube got bursted out before anyone was able to follow up. You then had the 4v5. You have all the sustain still going through. FoFo didn't have his ultimate at the start of that fight. So a lot of key abilities and burst potential lost. by missing abilities, missing ultimates, mispositioning. The fact that, right, Cube didn't really get to be part of a team fight. He was already dead by the time that the other members of RA could do anything. So really nice punish coming out from FPX. And now the question is, can FoFo get the hero play by himself?
Can he get the play? I'm sure we'll try and work that out. I was also just noticing as well that, you know, with Cube getting bursted out, this kind of something we talked about with a lot of RA's games where that coordination or lacking thereof has been something that I've really been nailing down, because it feels like that's RA's main problem at the moment. Communication and setup, and especially when RA are a team that you talked about, they're setting the barrier, they're setting the bar of entry into playoffs. This is the part that really shows some of their true weaknesses, and the part that I think needs the most development, especially when they have Leyan, who's so fed in this game, right? When Leyan has made it jungle diff. Okay, well, I have been told in my ears that we are skipping game 1, unfortunately. So we're going to show game stats now, and you know, I guess we'll talk and see if we can get some replays.
Let's guess that FoFo did it, maybe?
He got it. FoFo got it, bro. I don't know. I'm not sure. Well, there is an Infernal Dragon there for FPX, but yeah. Yep, cool. All right. Well,
you know, Hysterics, Leyan had a standout game. His invades, his team fighting, the ultimates that he had.
Let's bull a bit. Yeah. Oh, and Leyan, at the end, it was a 350 CS differential over Beichuan. Like, that was insane, right?
No. You know what the part that blew my mind was when Hung solo killed Beichuan into solo killing Nuguri, then into a 1v3 triple kill, getting the unofficial penta. And this guy is just popping off. And that was all of his damage this game. That's 7,895 damage was all from that one play.
Hung got an unofficial penta. I guess we can turn the emote mode only off on chat, because I believe we'll be going into a live version of FPX versus RA, so we can unleash our chat and we can, you know, we can get towards the second game. Apologize for that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not sure what was going on, but at the end of the day, Cube gets MVP, bro.
You know, he had a very standout Renekton. He somehow got first blood in that gank that we didn't get to see. 75% kill participation, 21% of the team's damage. Immaculate performance coming out from Mr. Cube.
That's one word for it, man. He was so good that we just decided, scrap it. We'll go into game 2 because we already know that RA have won and Cube was so damn good. So it's funny because he botched that engage. He botched the play, yet Cube gets MVP. So a lot must have happened. So
maybe you're on the ball, right? What happened was FoFo did get the dragon. FoFo killed the remaining members of FPX. And then, you know, the League of Legends universe, Summoner's Rift, just decided FPX's Nexus deserves to explode, and we will move forward with the day.
Yeah, just a side note, if anyone's interested in the first game, I will direct our lovely audience onto somewhere that they can go back and watch it. I believe on lpl.qq. You can even see it on Douyu and Huya as well. Even Billy should have that available there. Plus, we will try and get the VOD uploaded as soon as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, I dearly apologize for game number 1. We are going to go to that break